minutes when it matters, not just, unknown quantities hoping to get a pop from them. I mean, I think Chauncey probably has the luxury of knowing at least 1 through 11 what he's going to get when he puts a guy out on the floor.
You said at the end of the last season that you wanted to improve the defensive abilities of the bench. Do you feel you accomplished that with the guys you added?
I do. Obviously, early on, through free agency, I think we had success we don't normally have, Aaron, in the vet minimum market. I think adding guys like Cody and Tony and Ben are kind of maybe a level above the guys we've traditionally gotten, early in free agency when it came to vet minimums. So that helped. But, the trade for Larry later in the summer that I worked on with Kobe Altman and Arturas, that made a major impact. I mean, I think his versatility, his analytics are off the charts on the defensive end of the floor, his activity. And I think that, the coaching staff, and you can ask Chauncey when he gets up here, but I think the coaching staff's excited because the way he plays on the defensive end really translates to the style of play that they're looking to implement, for us this season. So I think the guys are a really good fit stylistically, and I think they're also guys that in any system can contribute on the defensive end. And they have enough experience where, like I said, I think what we're really comfortable with is these are guys that have played winning basketball. They've played meaningful minutes. So I don't think there's any reluctance or reticence to not put guys in positions where we really need production.
Neil, since the last time you talked to us, there's been some reporting from a few different outlets about the investigation that you guys ran during the coaching search into those allegations against Chauncey in terms of, not reaching out to the accuser's attorney, all this. Is there any more light that you can maybe shed on that whole process now?
Yeah, Sean, I appreciate, you asking the question, and I totally understand why, you'd be interested in revisiting it. But it's been well chronicled since then, and what we really want to focus on is the impact Chauncey's already made around our team, in the locker room with our staff. He's already been out in the community, meeting with sponsors, meeting with people within the organization. He was a major asset for us during the free agent period in terms of recruitment, which is one of the main reasons why we ended up with guys like Cody and Tony very early in free agency and Ben. So that's what we're focused on right now, and that's what we're going to be continue to focus on moving forward.
Neil, as you know, much was made about Dame and his happiness this offseason. Just what's your read on where he's at after all your moves, and what has your guys' interaction been like?
Well, on a couple of things, to be a little glib, he got married and won a gold medal, so so I'm sure those contributed to his happiness. But look, Dame and I, it's an interesting thing, guys. Dame and I communicate all the time in the offseason. You know that. You've been here with us the whole run since Dame and I came in. This one, I think more of the communication happened in a public forum. So I think there was more commentary, on where the dynamics of the relationship were. And Dame and I get along great. I mean, I think, the conversations we've had are no different than the conversation we had 3 years ago after we got we got beat 4-0 by New Orleans, and what were we going to do and how were we going to get better, and the frustrations of a first round playoff exit. And I think what Dame really wants to know is that sense of urgency and the competitiveness that he has, that everybody in the organization rises to that same level. When we've talked, he just wants to know that winning is as important to everybody, from myself to Chris to Chauncey to the staff to ownership, as it is to him. And I think, as he grows in his career, that urgency kind of accelerates. But, the one thing I think you'll know about Dame, and he and I talked about this, is when he's in, he's in. And, following his honeymoon, he was the first guy back on the floor working out. And there's no rearview mirror, Damian. There's no revisionist history. When he buys in, he's all in. And I don't think CJ was overstating that. I don't think CJ would have said that on the podcast were it not true and were it not something he'd already discussed with Dame. So, obviously you guys will have access to Dame here in the next little bit, but he's fired up to be here. I think he likes the additions we made in the offseason. Dame always has a belief that we can compete at the highest level. And I think he knows that we exhausted every opportunity to improve the roster through trade and free agency. And he knows we'll continue to work on that throughout this early part of the season and up to the trade deadline like we always do.
When Damian expressed his unhappiness or displeasure and said that he wasn't sure what he was going to do, did that add pressure to you to try and pull off some type of move? And do you feel he's happy with the roster the way it is? And also, did you feel a lot of calls from teams thinking there's blood in the water, let's try and go get Damian Lillard?
Three-parter. Let's see, starting with one. Anybody in this job knows it's constant pressure. It's pressure from fans, from season ticket holders, from media, from sponsors, from ownership, from ourselves. I mean, we wouldn't be in this position if we weren't competitive. It manifests itself differently when you're a front office executive versus a coach versus a player versus an owner. But none of us would be doing this day in and day out if we weren't competitive and didn't want to win. So I think that's just a given. From a competitive standpoint, Chauncey and I talk about this all the time. There's no one more competitive than me at times because I love basketball and I wasn't good enough. And so I've got to find another avenue to compete in the game that I love, and this is kind of the avenue that I've taken. So competitively, I think we're all on the same page. And from a pressure standpoint, there's always pressure. You lose in the first round, there's pressure. We went to the Western Conference Finals, there was pressure because you're so seduced by how close you were that's almost even more frustrating at times. And yeah, calls come in and, look, we're all friends. There's only 30 of us. They all know, basically, there's a guy at Rayo's named Frankie No, right? You call for a reservation, he answers the phone, no, right? Nobody can get a reservation at Rayo's. We answer the phone, calling on Dave, no. So, but guys have to be able to tell their owner they went back and they made the phone call they knew was going to result in the answer they knew was going to result in. But we all have jobs to do, and there's times where I've had to make those calls as well. But, clearly we were never going to be receptive to moving Dame. We're never going to be receptive to moving Dame. He's the bedrock of this organization, and he's going to be here for as long as he's happy and knows he has a chance to compete.
This offseason has held a lot of firsts for this organization that Dame hasn't had to go through, you haven't had to go through, CJ hasn't had to go through with a coaching change and dealing with some of these calls that may have felt like they had more weight because of the external communication.
I'm sorry, AJ. Haven't what? The coaching change, and then I lost you. Sorry.
Oh, the coaching change, that you and Dame haven't had to go through that together since you've been here. So as you've reflected on the role that you've played this summer, what are some things you learned about this process of finding a new coach, hiring a new coach that you would have maybe done differently or you liked the way you did it? Just reflect on sort of what you've learned in this process.
Well, I've done a coaching search before, obviously in Los Angeles. It's a stressful situation, doing a coaching search, especially on the heels of making a change from somebody who's as good a person as Terry, who was as successful as Terry was. 8 straight playoff appearances in 9 years. We had the number 1 offense in the history of the league, post-trade deadline. We worked really well together. So, it's not just, I think, AJ, it's not just what you're moving toward at times with the search. It's kind of I wouldn't say damage, but the result, that you left behind is always difficult. You're still dealing with that. And, this one became very public very quickly. We had a conversation with Terry at 7 o'clock at night, and at 8 o'clock there was an article about who the candidates were. We hadn't even met yet to discuss the candidates or narrow the list. So, at the end of the day, I always joke with my colleagues around the league, process versus results. And guys talk about process quite a bit. Process is a way that to kind of appease your owner when you're not winning, that you can rely on process. So, you're always going to think you did things differently. You're always going to do a post-mortem, whether it's a trade, whether it's free agency, whether it's a waiver, whether it's a coaching search, whether it's a hire in the front office. I mean, you want to know what you did well, what you didn't do well, what you do differently. But at the end of the day, we think we got a great coach. He's a future, we were joking, as soon as the committee gets their act together, he's a future Hall of Famer as a player. He's going to be an outstanding head coach. He's put together an incredible staff. The players are excited. I think the returning guys are really engaged and excited about the potential of this coaching staff holds to make an impact in terms of wins and losses. And the new guys, they're invested in this staff because, like I said, Chauncey played an integral role during the free agent period in terms of selling his vision, making guys comfortable with what their roles would be when they joined the franchise. And so they're all coming in a really good place mentally in terms of starting the season out.
Neil, kind of a sign of the times here, but obviously a story in the offseason and for the foreseeable future. How much of the team is vaccinated? Is the entire roster vaccinated?
So the entire team is vaccinated. The entire basketball operations staff is vaccinated.
Neil, this will be the 7th consecutive year you're building around Dame and CJ. How have you kind of balanced continuity with the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and expecting different results?
Yeah, and I guess everybody's, definition of insanity is different too, because there's a lot of places around the league at a team with the longest playoff streak in the NBA and trips to the conference finals and division championships and, 3 seeds in the Western Conference, and as a benchmark they'd like to actually reach. For us, that becomes the floor. I I get it. When you have sustained success the way we have, we walk in every season accepting that the bar is we're expected to make the playoffs, and then what do we do after we get in? So, I don't. Like I said, I think there's a model around the league. There are a lot of models where there's 2 guards. I just think the one with Dame and CJ probably draws the most attention because it's been the most successful in terms of 2 guys that can both play point or play 2. Right? I don't want to say non-traditional. I want to compare it to traditional backcourts, but in terms of that model of 2 guards, right? That might be considered undersized at the 2-guard position. They've been successful, but there's other models of it around the league, Jason, that just haven't worked. So, like I said, we've built around it. We support it. We've been successful with it. And like I said, I think bring Chauncey in, who, like I said, is a future Hall of Famer at their position, will elevate and take them to the next level in terms of what they can do, in terms of elements of their games that maybe have yet to be explored that can make them even more productive. But like I said, it wasn't that long ago we were in the Western Conference Finals with a team that probably didn't have the top to bottom talent and the depth, 1 through 11, 1 through 12 that this roster has with that very same backcourt. So like I said, we believe in both those guys. We're excited about the pieces we put around them coming into the season. And we're excited about the impact Chauncey and his staff are going to have in terms of expanding their game and making them tougher covers on one end and, more impactful on the other.
Neil, what excites you about this club, the construction of it, and for fans to have optimism that this team can go to the next level?
Well, I think it's continuity and it's change. If you look at our ratings after we acquired before we acquired Norm, right around the trade deadline, we ranked 6th in offense and 29th in defense. The time we had with Norm, we ranked number 1 in offense and 21st in defense. So from a continuity standpoint, there's a lot to like about this roster. With the starting lineup, being intact, the impact Norm made. And that was even at a point where he really wasn't fully comfortable with his role on the offensive end of the court. Ironically, his impact manifested itself much more on the defensive end. And like I said, and the depth. I think the guys we've brought in are going to be seamless fits into Chauncey's style of play on the defensive end. He can talk more about that when he comes up. But like I said, the fact that he was a part of helping recruit those guys, identify those guys, knowing how they would fit in, not only have they bought into their role coming in, but I think he has a vision for how he's going to utilize those guys. So like I said, I think the luxury of having probably 11 guys you can put into a meaningful NBA game is a luxury we probably haven't had for the last few seasons. I think we've had a shallower roster, or we've been coming off really successful seasons where we've had a high-profile injury where we were trying to patch that up in the off-season.
You said one of your goals in hiring a new coach was to find someone that fixed the defensive end of the ball. Chauncey has talked a lot about accountability at that end and improving the defense. Have you seen any evidence of players buying into that already this offseason, or have there not been opportunities?
No, we haven't started, practices yet. Sean and I have talked about it. But I can just tell the guys in the building understand if we're going to get to the next level, really be a factor once we hopefully get to the playoffs, that they know it's on the defensive end. I mean, you could just, the conversations that you hear, and then when you have guys that are defensive-oriented players like Larry Nance, I mean, that's their mindset coming in. We all know what kind of an impact Nurk has on the defensive end. You know, I think Rocco will be even better in a more active defense. And I think, you know, Dame's experience at the Olympics, you know, for him, you know, understanding how vulnerable teams are, you know, when they played Spain and France, when it was too easy on the offensive end for those teams to put up points, it put such a pressure on the offense for those guys to pitch a perfect game that when they ratcheted up their defense, seeing that impact that it had. So, you know, I think we all saw it in the playoffs. I mean, the teams that were 100% healthy, that defended, are the teams that advanced. And the teams that were overly reliant on the offensive end had a ceiling. And we know we have to break that ceiling with what we do on the defensive end of the floor.
Okay, we got time for a couple more. We've got a lot of players and people to get through, so quick.
Hey, Neil, is everyone going to be able to practice tomorrow?
You know, I haven't gotten a full report from Jeff Clark yet. You know, honestly, the guys had the weekend off. I think the last workout was Thursday. And then I think it might have been voluntary Friday and then off Saturday, Sunday. So I'm not sure right now. If it isn't, Jason, it's nothing major. It would be just a kind of a tweak here or a tweak there, something that came out of it, you know, the voluntary workouts for the last couple of weeks, but nothing, you know, nothing long term.
And then can you explain a little bit what you hope to see out of the 4 non-guaranteed guys and about that competition?
Yeah, so, you know, if there had been a guy out there that we really felt like we were willing to commit that 14th spot to, we would have. You know, we've got 4 really good players. I mean, these are guys with NBA bodies of work. They're really talented. They're at different points in their career. And I think it's probably the first time in a while we've had kind of an open competition, not for a 15th spot, which would be a luxury, but for the 14th spot, which is mandatory coming out of camp. So I'm excited about the fact that they'll not only be competing with one another, but I think they'll raise the bar in camp for everybody, that there's more at stake than just, you know, rotation and role and guys understanding that there's a hierarchy, that really guys are fighting for their lives in camp, competing against themselves and having to do that against the established players on our roster.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there, Neil. Thank you. We'll
Thanks, everybody. Have a
Coach
good morning.
Billups in just a couple minutes. Sorry, Neil. Coach Billups. Started off with Aaron Fentress.
Hello, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not bad, not bad. You've talked about accountability and regarding the defense, et cetera. In your conversations with players over the summer, how receptive has everyone been to truly concentrating on the defensive end?
Yeah, it's the summertime, and everybody is a new coach. So I've been in that position before, and I think everybody wants to try to impress the new coach or the new staff. But the conversations have been great, and I think that, in all honesty, like, everybody wants to be better, and everybody wants to win. And if we're being honest with ourselves, that's the best chance that we can know that we're going to be a better team, is if defensively, we actually commit to competing. It's one of the things that I'll talk about a lot with the guys, is just committing to compete. Because defense it's not easy, and it's sometimes not fun. But if you want to be a great team in the NBA, we talk so much about the offense and the three-point shot and all of that, which is a really big deal. But the further you advance in the playoffs, I've never seen a team win a championship or even compete at the highest level for one that wasn't a good defensive team. And we'll find out if we want to be winners, if we want to be better, by the way that we commit to that side of the ball. And I'm no guru, like, this is my first time at it, but I do know what it takes to win, and I do know what it takes to be a great team, and I think we all do, right? So, Aaron, we'll see, man. We'll see.
Coach Neil talked about ways that you can help CJ and Dame expand their games. Can you maybe give some insight into different areas that you can do that now?
Well, I think those dudes they're so dynamic, in the way that they score. They're different, though. Dame is more of a, north and south player. He's trying to get to his spot, and he's trying to get either to the basket or, he's a nightmare to cover, because you have to pick him up so high on the floor. As soon as he crosses half, you got to be up there, A lot of times, most of the times with defenses, you say drop back to a foot over the three-point line. Well, you can't play Dame like that, that'll cost you, So he's so quick and he's fast, and he's a nightmare to guard, right? And then CJ's totally different. He's very, very difficult to guard as well, but he's so shifty, with the basketball, and he's tough to trap because he's really good at splitting screens, and, he gets to that spot and he's stopping on a dime, shooting that shit. So these dudes are really, really tough to guard, right? I think one of our next levels, if we do want to be the team that we said we want to be, is we have to be a better passing team, a better ball movement team. And what happens is, when you're so gifted like Dame and CJ, you can actually score on double teams. You can actually score and be effective that way. But what happens is you become predictable, as a team. It's like, all right, if he wants to shoot over double teams, that's what they're going to do, then we're going to take our chances. And that's kind of been what's happened here, in my opinion, as I watch so many games over the years, is everybody on the roster, they kind of they trust that those dudes, you keep it close, those dudes are going to go get it done for you. And they will, and they can. But I think if you're better throughout the game, in the way that you move the basketball and the way that you diversify the offense, you're not in those tough crunches and tough games, and they haven't found one way to guard you the entire game. It makes it a little more difficult. So I'm gonna challenge those guys to be better, as far as moving the basketball, as far as trying to create threes by how we can get into the paint. Paint touches, something that, one of the key words that I'll be using with our guys, because I think when you get the ball into the paint, all defenses converge. And now you've created, some corner three-point shot opportunities, some lobs, some drop-offs. So that's where I'll be challenging, our best players to be better.
Coach, kind of in that same vein, you've talked a lot about accountability, particularly on the defensive end. What does that look like, or how does that kind of manifest itself as a coach, holding guys accountable on the defensive end? Like, what does that look like?
Well, to me, accountability is when something's out of place and something isn't going right. We have to identify what it is, and then, as I would call it, put an address on it. And here's what I mean by that. I play for a lot of coaches that in team meetings or at halftime or after the game or whatever would say, you know what, we got to do a better job of stopping the basketball. We got to guard better, boom. Well, in front of the team, I'm going to put an address on that. So it's Chauncey, you got to do a better job of containing the basketball. Ben or Rip or whoever I played with, you got to put an address on that. And I think it does two things. One, it lets that guy understand and know that he has to be better. And two, it lets everybody else, it puts everybody else on notice. Nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants to be the star of the tape the next day because you've blown 5 coverages. And so, but it's, it's a respectful way to do everything, and at the end of the day, it's just coaching. And the best coaches that I've ever played for coached that way, from Little League on to pros. And most people think that you can't do that with these guys, and I disagree. It's the right way to do everything. And everything I do will be with respect. I'm never going to disrespect a guy. I don't operate that way. So that's what I mean when I say you hold a guy accountable. And it's not just defensively, that's offensively as well. That's just period. If you want to be a great teammate, a great player, you have to accept some coaching.
There's been a lot of success in the last few years in the league for young and rookie coaches. Coach Kerr, Coach Luke, Coach Nurse. How does that play effect in your decision-making in your short coaching career? And also, how do you look at it when you came to pick up your assisting staff?
Yeah, there has been a ton of success from a lot of rookie coaches in this league. And I just take a lot of admiration and inspiration from those situations. For me, I'm just grateful and lucky to have this team, and to be able to be a rookie coach and have Damian Lillard, who I think is the best point guard in the league, as for a guy that played the point guard position. I mean, how lucky am I, right? And you have to have good players to have a good team. I mean, obviously I'm a coach, but if we didn't have enough talent out there, it doesn't matter what I would be teaching or coaching. We're gonna have a tough time having a good year. So I'm blessed and lucky that we have the roster that we have. I think Neil and the front office have done an amazing job this summer of we needed more depth, right? He added more depth. We added some shooting. We added some athleticism. So I'm lucky. I'm really, really, really lucky to have this team. And as far as my staff, I feel very confident in the staff that I put together. Having Scotty Brooks, who I knew I needed a former head coach, but not just a former head coach, a coach that had coached a ton of playoff games. I mean, Scotty's coached in the finals. He's a former player. I mean, he just has he has an unbelievable knowledge of what to do, game management, things like that. And Roy Rogers, who I brought from the Clippers, will be mostly in charge of defensive things. I think he's going to do a terrific job. He was with us with the Clippers last year, but before that he was in Chicago, and they had a top 7-8 defense. Steve Hetzel, who's really, really good, was under Coach Steve Clifford. on his last couple stops, I personally think that Cliff is one of the best in our game, even though he's out this year at coaching defense and teaching defense. So to have one of his understudies was a big deal. Steve Hetzel was really, really good. And then behind our bench as well, you know, with Matt and with Eddie and Milt, I think we have a wonderful staff.
You mentioned accountability is one of the things that you've really started focusing on as you shift to enhancing that defensive mindset. I'm curious, what is your coaching tone? Like, how are you communicating with the players as you try to change something that for some of these players, they've only worked in one system their entire NBA career?
Well, I'm big on communication. And so, you know, when I've met with obviously everybody on the team individually, and talk to them about their goals and the player that they want to be and team that they want to be, and so you first have to start there, you know, because you know, as a leader, you have to get to know who you want to lead first and foremost, and everybody is different in how you might push their buttons, and so it starts really with the communication of them voicing to me, you know, kind of what who they want to be, you know, in the league and their experience prior to this and what could be different, you know. So it starts there, and then I kind of share where I feel like they are, what I think they could be, who they could be for our team, how we need them to play. And then once that's all set, now I can start holding you accountable to what is necessary. And I haven't, you know, it's been good. I haven't had any issues thus far. Obviously, we're just now starting, but I've been able to spend some quality time with all of these guys over the last month. So we'll see.
Chauncey, you haven't been in town now for a while since being hired. Unlike Detroit, LA, come the wintertime, this is it right here, Rip City. What opportunity is this for you to be a part and really kind of be the steward of this franchise?
Say that last part again.
Kind of the steward and just be the leader and the guiding force of this team here.
I mean, I'm just grateful and I'm excited. You know, I really am. I mean, this is a new journey for me, for my family, who we're just really getting settled in here and learning all that is to be learned about the area. But as far as the job and everything, I'm just pumped up, man. I'm just pumped up. Like, I just feel like we have a chance to be a really good team this year. It takes a while to, like, kind of change habits, you know. So I'm being very patient, you know, with how we move and go about our thing. But at the same time, like, I heard somebody ask Neil about pressure, you know. When you have a great player like Dame, of course there's the byproduct of that is there's going to be some pressure involved in that, you know, and not just Dame. I mean, we got other really good players that are not only complimentary players but are damn good players, you know. So there's a level of pressure there that none of us can do anything about. All we can do is the best that we could do and just see how the chips fall. But I'm excited and thankful, bro.
Hey, Chauncey. You know, we talked about it with Neil, you know, kind of Dame. You know, the offseason was a little vocal with some frustrations. You know, being a former player yourself, I'm sure you've kind of felt those times where a team's stuck in the mud a little bit. I mean, what have those early conversations been like with Dame to, you know, get him, not buy in is the word, but, you know, to get him, I guess, back focused with the team, I guess, you know, and buying in here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and everybody knows this, that Dame and our relationship started far before I became the head coach of this team. And anybody else that knows me knows that I would never share anything that I talk to any of the players about. It's between me and the player. But I will say that, and Neil also said this, like, Dame is he's either all in or he's 2 feet in or 2 feet out type of guy. And obviously he's 2 feet in. Everybody knows the affinity that he has for this city, for the fan base. He's really excited, you know, and at the end of the day, Dame wants exactly what we all want, and that's to have a chance to be successful and to win. And like I said, I think he's happy with what's happened this summer, with our roster being a lot deeper, you know, a little less pressure for him to be absolutely amazing every single night, you know. I think he's happy with the staff that we've put together on the bench. And so we're all happy to, you know, that he's happy, right? You know, I always say there's two types of teams in the NBA. Teams with a superstar and teams that are looking for one. We have one, you know, and we need to try to continue to keep, you know, making our team better, you know, so we can try to get the best out of them.
A couple more. Orlando Sanchez.
Coach, you mentioned the happiness, obviously, of Damian Lillard. That's obviously important. But at the end of last season, Jusuf Nurkic frustrated how things ended up. What is the relationship like between you and Jusuf Nurkic at this point, and how do you plan on utilizing him this upcoming season?
Yeah. You know, whenever you lose, you should be frustrated. You know, if you have that competitive fire in you, you should be frustrated when you lose. Nurk is also a guy that I've known for some years before I even knew I wanted to coach. I knew Nurk from Denver. And I said it early on, even in my press conference, my introductory press conference, that I wanted to, you know, get the best Nurk that we can get. I've been proud of him. You know, he's in good shape right now. He's been very focused and very committed to his body, you know, to the team. And I just feel like, you know, he's one of the bigs in the league that is a really, really good facilitator and passer. He's a good screener. You can hit him in the short roll, and he's not just going to shoot. He's making a secondary play. We'll use him there a lot, you know, putting him at the elbow at the top of the key and letting him facilitate that way while guys kind of move. Without the basketball, we'll use him there a lot. And I think that Nurk could be much better when you just throw it to him on a block and he go use that big body of his to go get a bucket or a foul. He wasn't a very good finisher in the painted area last year, but I felt like a lot of those times when you get the ball and you don't think you might not get it back, you just force a shot. Well, we're gonna get away from all of that, you know. We want him to be in a position where he can calm down, slow down, and take advantage of that beautiful skill set that he has. And so I feel good about where we are with Nurk this year.
The atmosphere around the team in the last few years were, and Neil mentioned that maybe 15 minutes ago, were good enough to be at the playoffs, and then what? Mm-hmm. You bringing championship experience, is contendency or championship a bad word? Is this a term we can say out loud and go for it?
Well, I think that you should always be shooting for that. We're shooting for that. We want to be contending for a championship. That's the main goal, right? And if you look at how last season kind of played out, not really for the Blazers, but period, it was a battle of attrition, you know, and the healthiest team ended up winning it. You know, you have to have some luck involved in winning big and going deep in the playoffs. And so that's what makes me so happy about the depth that we have. You know, in the event a guy goes down for a week or two, sprained ankle or something like that, you know, we got quality guys that can step in, and you hope to not lose much ground. But those things are really important when you talk about contending, you know. I feel like we have a really good basketball team. You know, I look at, say, for instance, Phoenix, you know, last year. Obviously, they brought Chris in the year, you know, start or whatnot. But that team, they added some really good role players, you know, that really exaggerated the skills and gifts of their best players, you know, the Crowders of the world and the Mikal Bridges. And those guys they embraced their roles, which is something that we have to do here. Guys that are role players are gonna have to embrace those roles. And when you do, you could be a special team. You know, they have a lot of shooting on their team. We have a lot of shooting on our team. So I really marvel at what Monty did with that team and how he got those guys to really buy in to what they were trying to do. Nobody thought that Phoenix was going to be a contending team for the NBA championship last year at the start of the season. I know I didn't. And we seen them in a bubble run off those games and do great. But nobody had them there, you know. But a change of mindset, a change of habits, it's amazing. It's incredible what that can do. And everybody just kind of buying in. So we want to win as many games as we can, but I think for the most important thing for us is to understand what we want and how we're going to be able to do that. Because at this day, on a media day, there's 30 other teams saying the same thing, right? But at some point, the team starts to get selfish, or this guy wants that guy wants this, and then boom, you start seeing teams become who they become. Well, we want to do it the right way the entire year.
Okay, final question, Jason Quick.
Hey, regarding that 14th roster spot, is there anything you're valuing or looking for out of that spot?
Well, we have some quality guys that are going to be competing for that, and they were all really handpicked. You know, Patrick Patterson was with me last year with the Clippers. He's just a pro, man. He's just a pro. He does it all right. Obviously, there's a mindset that comes with being that 14th, 15th guy. Chances are you're not going to play that much, you know, so your spirit has to be right, and you have to be uplifting, and you have to be pulling for the guys that are playing, right? But Pat he's a pro's pro. You know, he's really good. And Marquise Chris, who's a young player but really gifted athletically, can be a game changer, you know, when he's playing well. Those two guys, and then you got Dennis Smith Jr., who is maybe one of the most athletic guards still in the league. He's really young. He's gone through some trials and tribulations early in his career, but he's still a really good player. You know, has some athletic gifts that you can't teach. So you have to see what's in there. And then Quinn Cook, who has probably been one of the better 14th, 15th guys on a roster in the last 4 or 5 years, knows his role, knows who he is. When he's called on the play, he comes and plays. He plays really hard. He's really efficient. And when he's not playing, he's the first guy off the bench. So we have some quality guys there, Jason, that I feel like they all have a chance. You know, I don't have a clue who's going to pull away there, but it should be a very competitive situation in training camp, which is what you want.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Good. All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll have Chris McGowan up in just a couple of minutes. Okay. Questions for President and CEO Chris McGowan.
Yeah, and I'll say a couple words to start. Just good to see everyone. It feels like it's somewhat normal from a media day perspective. It's not 100% normal, but it does sure feel good to be back in here and see everyone. And I'm looking forward to answering any questions you have. And obviously, a big thing we're working on right now is getting fans back in the arena safely, going from what we did last year, no fans, to limited capacity, to opening up with full capacity. We're really excited about that, and obviously been working a lot on that this off season. So with that being said, I can answer any questions anyone has. I know going from basketball to business is not always the best thing, but I'll answer any questions everyone has.
Kevin Calabro and Andy Peterson have yet to ask any questions today. Good time to start.
Aside from not having fans at most of the Blazers games last year, there's also concerts and other events that obviously didn't take place. How have things been going in terms of getting those events back and sort of, making the money that comes with those?
Yeah, it's been great, and obviously the concert schedule is going to be crazy over the next couple of years because we haven't been able to have any, and all the bands are really chomping at the bit to tour, and they want to come to Portland because it's such a great music market. But for us, it's also been good to have 2 or 3 events to kind of see if the protocols are working and get some good crowds in here. We've had some pretty big crowds for a couple of the concerts that have happened in the last 3 weeks to a month, and it's setting ourselves up to be really successful when we do open up for Blazers sold out crowd on opening night.
Okay, Sean?
Chris, I know hiring a coach is more Neil's domain than yours, but given kind of the fan reaction to the Chauncey hire, given the allegations and the investigation and all that stuff, kind of what would you say to some of the fans that are still uncomfortable with the hire or feel alienated by it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously looking forward, and over the summer I've had the chance to meet with Chauncey and spend time with him, and he's a great person. He's got a really good energy about him, and I think everyone's going to see that when they get to interact and experience him. And I've had the fortune of being able to do that over the summer and spend a lot of time with him, and I feel like he's a great human being, is a great coach, is going to be a great person to lead our organization.
Chris, how has the organization changed through the pandemic? I guess just in broad terms too, because obviously, I mean, as an employee as well, things are quite a bit different than they were 2 years ago. So I'm curious, from your perspective, how would you kind of categorize those changes, and how do you think that they've played out so far?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, it's been 19 months, I think, since this all started, and I can remember vividly meeting with our team when it did start the pandemic. What do we want to be when we come out of it? And we want to be a stronger organization. So we've taken the time to really audit all parts of the organization. There's a lot of changes that have happened. We've added several new senior executives. We added Ashley, who you've had a chance to meet already. We added a new senior executive to run sponsorship. We added a new IT person. We just tried to make the organization stronger coming out of it, and adding some new perspective, getting new executives in here was a big part of that. So there are some new faces here, and I think we're going to be a stronger organization coming out of the pandemic.
Hi, Chris. I know one of the things that fans are really hoping to see more of is streaming options. Is there any update on more streaming options?
Yeah, obviously that's another big initiative for us, going to a new TV partner, and there will be updates to that. Obviously, distribution is a big thing, and you saw the announcement a couple weeks ago with Fubo, and there'll be more as we get closer to the season, and we're excited about Root and what it's going to provide for the opportunity to have a bigger footprint in Seattle and Alaska and in more homes. We think Root puts us in a good position to have the biggest distribution that we've had for many years, which, as everyone knows, has been a bit of a challenge for us with our partnership that just ended. So expect more announcements as we get closer to the start of the season.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
You probably have as much interaction with Jody Allen as anybody. Since we don't get to talk to her, can you maybe give us a sense of her commitment to owning the Blazers?
Yeah, I mean, she's super competitive and wants to do better, on the court and off the court. And she's always involved in all major decisions and very accessible. And in fact, I think next week we have a big business review with her where we're going to go through, every area of our business, what we're trying to accomplish. And she sits through all of that and is just really available and pushing us, which is what you want from an owner. Not only here, but in Seattle as well. And I say it all the time, but the transition's been great. And she's there when we need her, and she pushes us when we need as well, which I think is good because you can get in a situation both on the business and basketball where things are going okay. You're just kind of, everything's going along okay, but you're really not taking things to another level. And she wants us to do that. She wants us to win more, and she wants us to run a better business. And that's what Neil and I get up every morning to try to do. And she pushes us, which is great.
Is she going to sell? Do you get a sense that she's in this for the long haul?
Yeah, I mean, team's not for sale, and I do, and we operate like that, and we're looking long term, and and she's supportive of that, and that's what we're going to do, and so yeah, the team's not for sale.
Casey?
Beginning of the season every year, I'd like to ask jersey options. We get a lot of questions about it. Can you talk at all about the new jersey options for this season?
Yeah, there's a lot of jerseys in the NBA, and we always unveil a lot of them. And the one we're unveiling this year is pretty cool. It's a mixtape. It's a little bit of history of the jersey. So there'll be more coming out on that pretty soon.
Mixtape?
Yeah, it's marketing speak. So it's like little bits of elements for a lot of our uniforms throughout the history of our franchise. A mixtape.
I gotcha.
Probably not.
Chris? Okay, we'll wrap it up there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, Larry Nance Jr. has been waiting patiently. Larry Nance has not seen a media day like ours. He is loving life. All right. We recording, Jacob?
That would have been a heck of a picture.
Recording in progress.
All right. Fire away. Questions for Larry Nance Jr.? All right. Oren Manor.
I was hoping I could get away with none.
No such luck.
So far in your career, you played for teams that did not have winning records. How do you feel joining this roster, who's been a winning team for a long time now?
Right. I have been to the finals, so I do want to put that out there. I haven't been on losing teams my whole career. So that experience in the playoffs was what drove me to want to come here. Being in LA, we weren't very good, as you know, and then once Bron left Cleveland, we weren't very good. I'm a guy that's been dying to get to that stage again. The playoffs is what basketball is all about and what we dream about as kids. So, I know for a fact I'm ready for that stage again, and that was a big factor in my decision to come out here, in wanting to come out here. This team's been in the playoffs for 8-9 years straight, the longest consecutive streak in the NBA standing, I think. And that's that was important to me. And so I'm excited to play whatever role, how big or how small these guys deem necessary for me to do to get back to the playoffs and hopefully deepen the run.
Larry, welcome to town again.
Thank you.
Dame and CJ command such respect around the league from different players. Your vision of them from the other side and joining that is what?
So as a defensive mind, coming in to play these guys was always a nightmare, because you have to pick up both of them so high as soon as they cross the court, cross half court. So, those two are, top two, if not top one backcourt in the league. They're incredible, and they have been for the past few years. And like I'm going to keep saying, whatever they need me to do is what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to be tremendously helpful when teams start to blitz either one of those two, blitzes and trap them. And I think that's where I'm really going to help on the defensive end, or on the offensive end, is making plays going downhill 4-on-3 once those guys gets trapped. So I've thought a lot about it, and this is going to be a really good fit for me.
Aaron Finchers.
Welcome to Portland. And Norm Powell said to me that when he played with Toronto, they never worried about how they were going to score in Portland. Chauncey Billups said the same thing about coaching with the Clippers. They never worried about how they were going to score against Portland. What were your impressions of Portland's defense last season from playing against them? And how do you think Coach Billups can change that impression? And how do you think you add to that mix as well?
Well, I'd have to just kind of reiterate what those guys said. It was never, where are our points going to come from in playing this team? It was always, how are we going to keep them from scoring 140? And oftentimes the answer was, you don't, which is why they're a playoff team for so many years. But the first thing when I got traded, and the first conversation I had with Chauncey is like, hey, look, this team was a 6th seed in the Western Conference, which is a monster of a conference, and was 28th in defense last year, which is, if you think about it, a ludicrous stat. It's ridiculous. And so he goes, that is, that's my main focus is, we have these incredible offensively gifted guards. And if we can surround them with guys that we don't have to be number one in defense, get us to the middle of the pack or slightly above, have a number 3 offense and a top 10 defenses. That's a recipe for success. And so that's one of the things that I'm here to do. Last year before I had some unfortunate injuries, I was leading the league in steals. We in Cleveland had gone from the 30th defense in the league to the top 3 before I got hurt. So that is my main focus, and that's what I'm here to do.
Hey, Larry, you touched on it. You did have that one season where you went to the finals. What can you talk about, that experience and, bringing that experience to this team, a team that's looking to go to the finals?
Mm-hmm. The biggest thing I took away from that was just the hunger of getting back. When I went, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for the playoffs. I wasn't ready for that stage. I just wasn't there. And, I hadn't played any meaningful games before getting traded to a playoff team. So, it's hard to describe it, but it doesn't feel like it's not regular basketball. It's so much of like every single possession, every pass of the ball, every cut you make on offense matters. Everything is just that much more amplified and important. And, that's really what we're all here to strive to get to, right? Like nobody plays the game just to it's great. I'm fine. I'm okay not making the playoffs every year. No, nobody says that. You don't get to this level with having that kind of mindset. So, the thing I can bring from that finals trip is just a hunger and drive to get back. And I know these guys already have it. They've been to the playoffs and been close. So I'm just looking forward to adding to it. I'm looking forward to, like I said, I'm going to keep saying, if they need me to play 2 minutes a night, terrific. If that means we're winning. If they need me to play 30 minutes a night, terrific. As long as we're winning, I don't care. So I'm here to do whatever it takes.
Welcome to Portland, man.
Thank you.
It had to be, a bit bittersweet to leave home. Read the heartfelt note that you put out there. But on the flip side, how excited are you to live in Portland? What do you know about the fan base here? And do you plan on being active in the community? That seems to be a real staple for you. So I'm curious about that, more off the court than anything.
Right. No, I like that. So you're right. Leaving Cleveland was not easy. Not easy at all. And my dad played there. His jersey's retired. Our family just has so much history with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and making the decision to want to move to a team like this is was very bittersweet. And I still have nothing but love for that franchise. I hope they win every game except 2. Of course, November 3rd and January 7th. I've already got them written down. But with that being said, yeah, I can't wait. Portland is the kind of place that I feel like I fit in more. Ohio is a little bit behind in the times, whereas Portland is progressive and very forward thinking, and I love that. I love that. So I think I'm going to fit in a whole lot better here. That was a lot of what I did in Cleveland in terms of working with community was, working on getting people to turn up to vote, working on, there's a bill that we were working on in Ohio where you can still be discriminated against for being LGBTQ in the workplace, and it. And so that's the type of stuff that I was doing in the community in Ohio that I don't necessarily have to do here. So I'm really gonna keep working on that out there, and where I need to step in here, I definitely will make my voice heard. But another thing I'm excited about, to be honest with you, is the soccer games. I'm a massive soccer fan, so like the Timbers and the Thorns, like I'm already looking forward to taking my daughter to the Thorns games, and so I'm excited to get immersed into that. But these fans are some of the best in the league. I hated playing here when I was with the Lakers. I hated playing here when I was with Cleveland because the fans were just going to be breathing down your neck. And, that's one of the things I'm most excited for is like those fans that you hate them as an opposing team. You hate them because they're just on you all game. And now, great. I can't wait for teams to come here because they're going to be on them all game. They're going to have my back now. So I'm really excited to be on the flip side of that.
Hi, Larry. Jason Quick. Drawn back to your time in Cleveland when you guys went to the finals, they always say that, those type of teams that reach the finals, there has to be some level of sacrifice. On a team like this, the Blazers, where there's a lot of talent, there's probably going to have to be some sacrifice. Can you maybe draw back on your experience with Cleveland and what you learned about sacrifice and what it looked like for you?
So, no, you're right. Any playoff team, any good team, there's sacrifice, made by everybody. And it looks like different things for different people. But, for instance, when I got traded to the Cavs, I playing a lot right away. Bron I was like his new toy. He's throwing me lobs and seeing how high I could jump. It was awesome. And then, we got to the playoffs, and then, that heated kind of atmosphere, that the intensity of it was like, all right, my role was toned back a little bit, and it was more of the guys that they had been there with before, the Kevin, the Tristan, the JR, which they had been to four or five straight finals. That's who should play. But if I was not bought in, I'd have been kicking and screaming about not playing as much. I played, I think, 25 minutes a game our first series against Indiana, and we won. The next series against Toronto, I didn't play at all. And then against Boston, I played again. So, it's something that like you said, there's going to be sacrifice. You just have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And that could be sometimes sacrificing your own minutes, your own shots. And, that's nothing that I'm not familiar to.
Okay, last question, Casey Holdall.
Welcome again, Larry.
Thank you.
Chauncey has talked about accountability, particularly on the defensive end, and as a guy who's been in a couple different locker rooms prior to coming to Portland now, how do you feel like that manifests itself? Or do you feel like players are generally receptive to kind of those conversations about, like, what he talked about, putting an address on it, and really, like, being definitive about what happened and maybe who needed to be better in that moment? Like, how do you feel like that goes over as a guy who's been around for a while?
Yeah. As a whole, players know. Like when we're on the court and you get beat, but there's also a certain level of care that has to come with a good defensive team. And, whether you got beat or whether you need help, you have to care. You have to try to be better and to try to, guard your yard or whatever they say, right? So, as a defensive-minded player myself, I look forward to it. If I mess up, hold me accountable. Let me know, like, hey, Larry, we put you on DeMar DeRozan. We put you on Jason Tatum for a reason. We put you on Kawhi or LeBron for a reason. Stick with them. Don't let them have that. And I love that. I invite that challenge. And that's the defensive mindset we all kind of have to adopt. And I think that's what Chauncey's going for going forward is the accountability of you got beat, fix it. But when you get beat, or if you get beat, we're all here to help you. But you should never be getting beat. Individually, we should never be getting beat. But just in case, we all got your back. And I think that's should be the sum of our defense.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, Larry.
Appreciate it, guys.
CJ McCollum. Okay, questions for CJ? Aaron Fentress.
CJ, you said on your podcast earlier in the summer that you didn't mind at all that your name was out there in trade rumors and all those kind of things. But after going through it the entire summer, can you sort of explain sort of what your mindset was in dealing with it and the fact that some fans sort of want to see you maybe moved for someone else who might fit better? And just does it matter to you at all? And what kind of emotions does it put you through?
No, I think I'm at this stage in my life where you understand what comes with the game. I think that there's going to be fans that love you, there's going to be fans that aren't fans of you, and there's going to be fans that like you but still would like to see you traded. And I think it just comes with the territory of being a professional athlete. Your job is to do your job. I try to do the job to the best of my ability. I had a very eventful summer. I had a fun summer. I worked on my game. Purchased a vineyard. I did some things that I wanted to do as a man. And I think understanding, my situation, understanding where I'm at here within the organization, we have a great relationship and understanding to where the organization is always going to do what's best for them. I'm thankful to be here. I'm happy with the role that I play and look forward to continuing to do my best to help us win a championship. And I think looking at the fans, the way they've supported me over the course of my career, looking at the ownership, looking at the staff, obviously the staff that's no longer here, I'm thankful to have been a part of that and look forward to building on what we're going to try to accomplish with Chauncey. But in terms of that stuff, I don't take it to heart or anything like that. Everybody has the right to their own opinion, and I appreciate fans being passionate. As a fan of my Browns, I'm sure I've said some of the same things that they're saying about me, about some of my friends who play. So if you look at it, from that point of view, it is what it is. And I look forward to, continuing my career here.
Casey Holdo.
Congrats on the big win yesterday, CJ.
Thank you.
When Chauncey talks about accountability, particularly on the defensive end, what do you feel like that means for you? And how do you feel like maybe that manifests itself in the locker room for you guys?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with any style of coaching based on how I was raised in my household. We don't really hold punches, so I'm not afraid to be critiqued. I'm not afraid to be challenged, and Chauncey understands that. I've known Chauncey for a while, and I told him, same thing that I told the rest of the staff is, challenge me. You can use me as an example. I won't be offended. I do my job. I take my job very seriously. I know there's ways I can improve my job all the way around. So I look forward to the accountability. I look forward to what comes with being a high-profile player who's highly paid and is expected to produce.
You started last season with pretty much the best numbers of your career before the injury. What should we, and the team was winning more, what should we expect starting of this year as far as the wind behind your sails?
I had a very productive summer. I took a look at, what I need to improve on, and obviously, what I did well, what I didn't do so well, and obviously how I started the season was a point of emphasis for my last summer, and I think it's the same for this season. Understanding what I had to do to kind of get my mind and my body ready last year, I've done a lot of those same things and probably more from a preparation standpoint because I didn't have to rehab like I had to do the last few summers, working on my back and then having a foot fracture during this season. I was able to kind of play through and get to the summer, so I didn't have to play catch up this summer like I had to do in past years. So I look for more of the same, getting off to a good start, defending well, playmaking. Obviously, I've been scoring, since I came out the womb, so that won't be hard. But it's just more about the other stuff.
CJ, congrats to you and your wife as well, father and
thank you,
mom to be.
Mm-hmm.
Life's gonna get a lot more hectic for you. What kind of tips you get from your buddies like Dame and else that have little kids running around?
My brother has a 1-year-old, so I get to see little E, when I'm home and when he comes out. So I have a pretty good perspective and understanding of what comes with that. My brother's my best friend, so I talk to him every day. And I'm looking forward to the challenge. Life is continuing to evolve for all of us, especially myself, turning 30, being married, having a kid on the way, having a lot of responsibility within, the league, the organization, and some of my other business endeavors. Time management is important. Work on your game, focus on your day job, but also have healthy hobbies. I'm trying to sleep as much as I can now before the baby comes, and Dame can attest to it. He's a father. He's got 3 kids. I'm gonna take my time before I get to 3. But I know that there's no better job than being a father. And having seen my brother, my father, my grandfather, may he rest in peace. That's something that I'm going to cherish and enjoy, and really, really take advantage of and savor.
Sean Hyken.
CJ, being president of the Players Union, what's been your reaction to the last week or so with some of the stuff that different players have been saying about the vaccine and about them not wanting to take it or their reasons for it, and kind of the league's mandate on all that, or not having one on all that stuff? What's your reaction to it as somebody in the position that you're in now?
I see everything. I'm aware of everything. The emails are constantly flowing, but just trying to educate. I think that's the biggest thing, trying to educate myself, trying to educate other players. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of concerns. We're entering another tough season. Obviously, you got the Delta variant. You have a lot of cases that are spreading in certain areas, and we're trying to do our best to go on with the season. And I think, introducing fans again, people having families. Obviously, my wife's pregnant, so I'm in a position where I need to really know what's going on at all times and take the proper precautions that are associated with having a productive season. And I think there's a lot of players, families, coaches who have immunocompromised people in the household. So we're paying close attention to everything and cautiously moving forward and trying to do our best to get through a season. But in terms of the comments and stuff, there's 450 players with 450 different mindsets, 450 different types of upbringing. So the biggest thing is to respect everyone's opinions and try to educate them as best you can.
Time for a couple more. Casey, hold on.
Kind of in that same vein, CJ, what has it been like for you in the first, I guess it's been about a month now as the union president? Like, what has your day-to-day changed a lot because of that responsibility? I imagine you're probably doing some of that stuff anyways, but I'm curious how that role has manifested itself so far. And also, two-part, your thoughts on having a signature sneaker with Lee Ning.
The first part, I was on the executive committee for 4 years, so I had exposure to what comes with the territory of being president. Having spoke to CP, having been close to CP since I was 20 years old, I have a great understanding of what he's done for the union, what he's done for the NBA, and how he's been able to kind of be that liaison between players and their voices, kind of echoing that back to the governors. But I'm on the phone all the time. I'm on Zoom calls all the time. I think that's the main difference. Obviously, we had to hire a new executive director, so that was a 2-year process that we started pre-COVID, paused during COVID, and then kind of started back up again. That also included in-person interviews and travel and all those things, but it's the life I chose. I want to make sure that the league is in better hands when I leave, and that the future generations are protected, have the proper education and the proper wherewithal to kind of make money outside of basketball. And I think we've worked on a lot of those different things. In terms of outside of the Zoom calls, being introduced to staff, spending some time in New York, obviously going to 6th Avenue, being in the office, I got a great understanding of the temperature of the union, where we're at, and also where we need to go. In terms of my shoe, I'm just thankful to be able to play a sport for a living, wear shoes that I don't have to pay for, and see other people, with an interest in wanting to wear my shoes, especially kids. Coming from where I come from, it's a blessing. And I try not to take it for granted. So I think it's kind of weird, having your own shoe. Like how I grew up is just kind of weird. Like people asking me, like, "Hey, can I get a pair of your shoes?" And it's actually my shoe. But it's a solid situation. I'm thankful for it, and look forward to rocking some new colorways that are near and dear to my heart and my family. I'm sorry? I'm not going to say I have a office, but they give me an office space to use. I'm not trying to spend our money on an office for a guy that's in the city 14 days out the year in the office. But it's cool. I'm just trying to do what I can to help, man. That's all. And I lead a very interesting life. So.
Not that I'm looking at your computer screen, but Casey looks like he's ordering a bottle of your wine online here, CJ.
How's it doing? Is it still available? Oh, it's okay.
All right, last question, Austin White.
Hey, CJ, I wanted to ask you about some of the guys that they brought in, obviously Larry Nance, a couple of the guys you've signed, what are some of your thoughts on, their fit with the team and also some of the development of some of the younger guys that, have been around a little bit?
Yeah, Larry's an Ohio guy, so I'll start with him. Explosive athlete, he's smart. I think he shot 36% from three, the last few years, so he can stretch the floor. He can make the weak side pass and has a great understanding of role, and is just a selfless teammate, so I'm looking forward to playing alongside him. We brought in Ben McLemore, a guy who's in my draft class, one of the prettiest jumpers I've ever seen. It's picture perfect. I think he's a value add, a guy that can help us spread the floor, stretch the floor. Obviously, we re-signed Norm. You guys all know what type of game Norm has. He can get downhill. He's strong. He puts pressure on the defenses, and he's tough, and he has that championship pedigree, which is what we need because we've never won a championship. Who else do we bring in? I'm forgetting. Cody Zeller. Cody's also in my draft. That's my guy. Very, very smart, pick and roll player, takes charges. I think you've seen the charge on Instagram, a guy that takes charges in open gym. You learn a lot about, who he is as a person to his core. He'll do whatever it takes to win. Another selfless player, Tony Snell, is also in my draft. I forgot about Tony because Tony's so quiet. He doesn't really say much. Just comes to work early. I think he was mad that I beat him to the gym a couple times this week, or last week, but he just works hard. There's a lot of guys who are in the league for a reason, and I think when you become teammates with them, you gain a greater appreciation of the work ethic, the commitment, and what's associated with that. He's a guy that's just a good teammate, good all-around dude who's gonna do what's necessary to help us win. So I think we've added a lot of players. Obviously, we got some guys competing for one roster spot. They're all very talented. I think they're all lottery picks. Which kind of shows you the talent level. So I think we're heading in the right direction, but it's more about, you talked about internal development. Anthony looks good. He's sharp. Besides the tattoos, he looks stronger. He looks more comfortable, more confident, which is what we're going to need from him. I think the game starts to slow down as you get more experience playing in games, and then as you get more experience in practices, him having to go against myself, Dame, him having to really be challenged every day was going to help him immensely in game, and he's working with Dr. Phil, so I think that'll help him. Nas looks really good. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. I've seen some articles written about his development. He's hungry. His body looks good. He's taking care of himself. And I think from a maturity standpoint, people forget he wasn't in school very long. You're used to seeing like polished men. Like Dame went to school for a long time. He kind of got a lot of the mistakes out there. The learning curve kind of sped up. I went to school for a long time. Then I didn't play right away, so I got to kind of sit and watch. When you get thrown into the fire at 19, it's hard. So I think they've kind of had time to grow, handle some things off the court, get more structure in terms of a schedule and how to be a professional. And I think you'll see a better version of them, which will make our team better as well.
Okay, we're up there. Thank you, C.
Go Browns.
Go Packers. All right, we got Cody Zeller. Come on up, Cody. Welcome to Portland, Cody. We haven't even had a chance to meet. I'm Jim Taylor, I'm the PR guy.
How are you guys? Nice to
Of
meet.
a very weaker version of Mike Cristaldi. Questions for Cody Zeller.
Nice to meet all of you.
Aaron Fitchers.
It's been beautiful weather here. They promised me that's how it is year round. So.
This is how it is here.
Hi, Neil Olshey said at the end of last season that he really wanted to improve the the defensive play from the bench, and bringing you in is part of that progress. How do you think you'll fit in with what Phillips wants to do defensively and with the rest of the team?
Yeah, I mean the team already defends well. I want to bring some energy off the bench for sure. I'm not for people that don't know my game, I'm not a rim protector, but I can defend by moving my feet. I'm agile, mobile for a big guy, so I can defend the pick and roll, which is so big in the league now. So you might see me blocking 5 shots a game, but I'll keep the guards out of the paint. I'll always be there on the help side when one of my teammates get beat. I'll block out, keep them off the offensive glass. So I pride myself on playing hard, especially on the defensive end. So I know the center spot is a unique spot because it's the center spot has to anchor the defense. So I'm the one that has to communicate to everyone, make sure everyone's in the right spot. And I'm looking forward to bringing that to the team.
Nick Kripke.
Cody, welcome to town. What's the intrigue of joining a team that's got a pretty solid core, been together for a long time, and a first-time rookie head coach that knows how to win as well?
Yeah, I was excited about it in free agency. Obviously, to be able to play with CJ and Dame and so many of the other guys that have had a good run so far. So I'm just coming in and try to add to that a little bit. In Charlotte, I spent 8 years in Charlotte, which is this is only my second team, but I've only been in the playoffs twice. So just even being around town, the expectations are a lot higher within the organization, but also from the fans that nobody's excited with just making the playoffs. So that's exciting for me because the expectations are higher, and there's going to be a higher demanded from the team, from myself, from everyone else. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Other questions for Cody? Aaron Fitchers.
Chauncey Billups talked about wanting more ball movement and things that you can help create that because you're such a good passer, especially from the high post. Can you talk a little bit about that part of your game?
Yeah, I always try to play unselfishly, especially in the pick and roll. I can, like in that kind of in the pocket pass area. So I know that CJ and Dame attract so much attention, sometimes 2 guys to the ball. So, a lot of times they'll find me in the short roll or the pocket pass area, and then it's for me to make the right play. So if the defender comes over, then it's a pass to the 3-point line. I like to play unselfishly. I think it's contagious. It starts with the guys that'll have the ball in their hands more tand me, which is, like I said, CJ and Dame. Those guys always make the right play. I'm looking forward to playing with this group.
Hey, Cody, obviously the division you're in has a lot of talented big guys, Jokic in Denver, Rudy Gobert in Utah, and, Cat in Minnesota. I mean, how do you kind of embrace that challenge of, guarding a lot of talented big guys that you're going to see, quite a bit?
Yeah, I've been in the league long enough to know that a lot of those guys, you aren't going to stop them. You just try to keep them from having a big night. Try to, keep them off the free throw line, keep them off the offensive glass. Try to make them, contested 2-pointers. Try to make them shoot those tough ones. With Jokic, try to take away some of his passing angles. Gobert is so long, offensive rebound, like you said, blocking shots. So, yeah, obviously a talented group, but I played in the league long enough to know that you got to bring it every night, no matter if you're playing one of those guys or someone else around the league. So you got to come ready to play every night.
Any other questions? Okay, wrap it there.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Speaking of big guys, Yusuf Nurkic time.
Recording in progress.
Okay, questions for Yusuf Nurkic. We'll start it off with Aaron Fentress.
Hello. Right here. Right. The last time most of us talked to you at the end of last season, you were clearly unhappy and talked about whether or not you even wanted to be back. Over the summer, it seems like that has changed considerably. Can you talk a bit about what you think your role is going to be with Chauncey, what you think Chauncey is going to bring to the table, and how you feel about the season coming up for you?
I mean, the role probably is definitely going to be different. But I think the summer was unknowing until we hired Chauncey. And luckily for me at that point, I know Chauncey since my early Denver days. So I did have a relationship with him and was always kind of friendly and then open, more like brotherhood stuff, like similar to Dame in certain ways, because he was the ex-player at that time and didn't expect as fast as was going on that he gonna end up, as my coach and back in a couple of years later, but end up well. So for me, it was already, I will know what's going on. I'm going to be in the plans, or I'm not going to be in the plans. So with Chauncey, I at least know it's going to be straight up open cards and understandable where he coming from, what he sees. So since I texted and talked to him over the phone, I flew in from Bosnia to Portland just for him. So we have a face-to-face meeting and we speak very well. And as a grown-ass man, we have a great conversation. And we go from there, I think. We all understand that it's not my rookie year or, something that he don't know what I can bring. And I'm glad somebody wants to be a bigger part of the organization.
Orlando Sanchez.
Nurk, you touched on it a little bit there, but what excites you about this upcoming season, and what are your expectations for yourself and the team?
I think we all know we got to get over the hump. Our expectation is always team first for me. That ain't going to change for me. As you know me since day one, I'm a team player first. I definitely think I'm going to be, I'm sure I'm going to be more involved with as far as with the ball and offense and defense. So looking forward for the challenge. I think the most exciting part is holding people accountable from me and the end. So and to the start to the end, the guys. So I think it's going to be more challenge for Chauncey to he wants to do it. So his plan to hold people accountable is something that we not necessarily have over the years. To have a passing more implant, to play more team basketball, not just too many ISO balls. Even we have a luxury to do that time to times. We have a great players who can score, and that's not secret. Like everybody know what certain people in our team can do. So I think the challenge and going to be on defensive end that we have to be better. I think that's the best way to look at it. It's always up from that place. It's not, certainly you might can slide get worse, but usually not happen, right? So I think we have, with the Roy Rogers, assistant coach, I think personally, I really love that hire. I have great communication with the big, and Chauncey has a great feeling for the big. So I think from that point, we're going to be guaranteed better in defense. And our offense was never the issue. So, and like you guys already know, we didn't change as much as people think the team. So the offense should be the same as far as numbers, not the plays. So I'm excited, man. I'm telling everybody, like, I've never been excited since I've been here since day one. So for me, I'm looking for a big year personally for me and the team.
Yep, correctly.
Nurk, ideally, in the vision of you, how do you see yourself maximizing your abilities in this team?
I just have fun again, man. Just, I think I'm the most dangerous when I play with the edge and have fun. Personally, I think the certain system make players, and the certain players make a system. So, being said that, I think the system with Chauncey going to help utilize me more in the scoring areas. But at the same time, I'm going to make even more passes than I used to make. So, that might bring Dame or CJ 2 or 3 points less, but then you're going to have everybody else, and in a certain position, they're going to be happy. So I think the biggest, if I can say the biggest, Chauncey going to make people be in their role. So whatever is no more guessing, or defense or offense. I think it's going to make simple adjustment. You're going to make simple stuff that everybody understand the same language, and the people will be held accountable by that. So, like, by mean that, it's just like no more my bad, or I didn't know what I'm supposed to be, or this. So I think he's going to really simplify that. But, people going to exactly know who messed it up. So, and it's good. I mean, it's good to have accountability in that system.
AJ McCord.
First off, congrats on the engagement over the
Thank you.
summer.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, that's another thing. So, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Big life change.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
You talk about the accountability that Chauncey is going to bring, and as a first-year head coach, it seems to me like there would be a lot of, it requires a trust to be held accountable, right? So how has he worked to develop that trust with you so that when he does hold you accountable, players are receptive to that?
I think he already has that. Just being who he was as a player. I hear him saying, I was the best player in the team. I was the second best player in the team. I was third. I was the bench girl. I was the sixth man. I was not playing. So he was everything in a certain player's position. So I think he's speaking where you already know, like, if you do something dumb, you already know that it's dumb. And he know it's not going to be like whatever. So I think for that point, he already have that trust to speak in something that he feels like. But he's not afraid either. So probably that's the biggest thing coming as a, like you said, rookie coach. It's kind of weird to say as a rookie coach, but he definitely is not afraid to say the right way and hope, not necessarily just argue, but definitely put the right words out there.
Any other questions for Nurk? All right. Thanks, Nurk.
Yep.
Looks like we have a little bit of a lull, so if anybody needs to take a quick respite. Okay, we got Damian Lillard inbound. Hey, where's that loot? Yeah, where's the loot? Yeah, let's get the loot.
You said, what'd you call it?
The loot.
Show and tell?
Yeah, show and tell. We asked Dame to bring something for show and tell today, and he dug out a gold medal.
It's fake.
No, it ain't. That sucker's heavy. Okay, questions for the letter O. You've been asking all first ones. We'll give a quick.
Dame, how do you feel about this roster?
I think, over the years we've always had a competitive team, and I think, we'll be competitive again. Obviously, at the end of last season, I wanted to see our roster improve. I wanted us to have a better chance to win. And we had our conversations, throughout the summer about what that looked like and how we could take steps in that direction. And I come into this season with faith that that's going to happen and that we're going to do that. I feel like Larry Nance is a good pickup for our team. Athleticism, if it's, a team playing small ball five, he can make a three, get us extra opportunities offensively, defensively, make us more versatile. We got some guys with experience, Tony Snell, 3-and-D, Ben McLemore, another shooter. We got some really good guys in camp, Marquise Chris, Dennis Smith, Pat. We got some decent guys around that, we can form into a really good team and be competitive. It's only one way to find out how competitive and what it can actually be, and we're going to find out soon.
Damian, were you hoping for a bigger roster splash in terms of a trade, and are you satisfied with the efforts made in that endeavor?
I think it's anytime you come into a off season and you want to make changes bad, it's one thing to go out looking for it and to try to make it happen. Obviously, you need a partner. It takes two, but you also don't want to go out there and just do anything. When we've established so much as a team and as an organization, you don't want to just go do something just to say I made a change. You want it to be in line, with something that could actually make us better and something that could send us to the level that we're trying to get to. So like I said, we've done some things that I like. I didn't expect us to go out there and get Kevin Durant all of a sudden, but I think the conversations that we've had, what we've sat down and talked about, I feel like it's genuine that we're trying to move in the right direction and give our team a chance to actually go get it done. So that's what I feel. I have faith in the fact that, we've had real conversations, and that's what everybody's intentions are. So,
AJ McCord.
Can you hold up the gold medal so we can get a nice look at it, please?
Y'all want to pass it around? Want to pass it around? Actually, man, y'all can't touch my medal, man. I'll take that. I'll take it back. I'll take it back.
One of the things Chauncey talked about today is just he's going to have direct accountability with you guys as you try to shift into a better defensive team. How much do you appreciate that direct communication, and does it give you faith that despite the roster being very similar, the results can be different?
I just, from being around for the last month or so, I have a lot of faith that even though our roster is very similar to what it was, I have a lot of faith that we can be better defensively. Obviously, sometimes you just have change. It's a fresh start. It's new, and I think that will be a part of it. It was just basically a decade of we were the same team. We had the same style. So just having
a new staff, they bring something different, new people, new faces, new voices, I think that's gonna probably automatically give us, a step in the right direction because we're hearing something fresh. But just walking through things, talking through things that we've been doing while we had guys in the gym, I feel like the amount of detail, the focus on it, how much time, we spend talking about it and, pointing out spots on the court and things like that, I feel like we'll be a much better defensive team. And once again, we can say it, and very soon we'll find out if that's actually going to happen. But I do honestly feel like some of the changes and some of the things that they're bringing with them as a staff, I feel like we'll be better defensively.
Orlando Sanchez.
Dame, you've had quite the memorable offseason, the gold medal, you get married, album dropped, et cetera, et cetera. How does that help, shape the man that you're becoming, and how does that help impact the player that you are as well, learning from those experiences that you had in such a short period of time here this offseason?
I think it just, I don't know how much I would say it shapes me. It's a lot of things that play a part in that, but I think it kind of put me in my place. The woman that I married is the woman I met in college, so that was something that I stuck with, ups and downs in a relationship. I don't know if I really want to be with you. I don't know if I like you today. Like, you go through those things and then we end up being married. And I do USA at the beginning of my career. I walk away from it, don't really have interest in it. Then I win a gold medal. More music. I had twins earlier this year. Things like that. And it just kind of centered me. Like, all right, this is like, I'm in that space that I need to be in. And that was also part of me saying, like, I've always seen everything through, you know what I mean? Whether it was a relationship, whether it was people telling me you shouldn't be doing music, whether it was, I don't know how much I really want to compete in the Olympics, like whatever, then I ended up doing it. And it was all a part of, like, where I am now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been a person, I go out on my shield. Anytime I ever had a fight, anytime I was ever a part of something, like, I'll go out on my shield. And that was like all of those things that I stuck with, and like these were the end results of it, is, what has me here, what keeps me so invested here is like, I want to see it through. I want to see it happen. I mean what I say. And, it gets rocky, it's ups and downs, things come with it, but, I got engaged when it was least expected. Like, all the things happen when it was least expected. So for me, it's like I want to see it through. So like that, I would say that's how it's impacted me and where I am in my life now. It's like I want to see it through, and I'm willing to, like I said, go out on my shield, and not do something that wouldn't be me. You know what I'm saying? Step outside of myself to do something to, satisfy other people. I'm gonna do me, like I always do me, and wherever that falls, I'm willing to, I'm gonna go out on my shield, like I said.
Jason Quick.
In the amount of time that you spent with Team USA and around all those great players, I imagine there was a lot of conversations and whatnot. Right. Did anything kind of stick with you, or really resonate, or throughout all those conversations?
As far as what?
I don't know. You've talked to guys who won championships, their processes and all that. Did anything really stick with you?
I spent a lot of time with Draymond. Like, me and Draymond, pretty good friends. And I talked to KD a lot. Zach LaVine never played in the playoffs. I never knew that until he told me, like, man, I've never played in the playoffs. But we had a lot of conversations, and, it was like it felt like people want to see you win. You know what I mean? Like, obviously they're my competitors, but they like, when you talk about a championship, they like, dang, you want to win? Like, don't you want to win it all? And everybody's talking about their experiences, and when I was in Golden State, and when I was here, when I was there, when we played this team, when we played that team, and it's like, I'm sitting there like, man, I really feel like it can be done. that's just really how I feel. Like, it can be done, and a lot of things have to go right. But just being a part of those types of conversations where everybody's talking about it, even the women's team, like being around Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi and Tina Charles and Brittany Griner and Breanna Stewart, like just being around them and how they talk about like those experiences is like, I want to have those same experiences, and I feel like it's gonna happen. I just do. Just that sometimes it happened when it was least expected, like Golden State in 2015. Like Draymond, the first one that they won, nobody expected them to just come out and just win like that, and they just came out and win. So like that was something that I hold on to, is just like, you can't come into the season like this the year, because you might think that and then come out and have a terrible year. You just never know. And if your mind is not right, in the right place, ready to go and do the job, then you just never know when that moment is gonna come. So that was like the biggest takeaway for me. And then also watching last year's postseason, I was like even more convinced, like, I know it can be done.
Got time for a few more. Sean Huygen.
Dame, Neil said the whole team is vaccinated, but I don't think anybody's asked you personally kind of what your thoughts are on, how you came to that decision and kind of what your thoughts are on that whole debate.
How I made the decision?
Yeah.
I mean, they presented the opportunity, and I said, can I get my family? Can I bring my family too? And they said, yeah, and that was it. I think it's I'm not mad at people for, saying I need to do my research, or, they got to take the steps that make them comfortable. But I have a lot of people in my family that I'm tight with and that I spend a lot of time around, and, I'm just not going to put their health or their lives in danger because, I want to hold a big research when, as a kid, I had to get shots my whole life, and before I went to college, I had to get shots, and I couldn't tell you one thing about any of them. So if it's something that, I've had people in my family actually die and people actually lose their lives to it, like, I'm not, and it's a way for me to protect myself and the people that I love, I'm gonna do it. It's pretty simple.
Nick Kripke.
Dame, as opposed to a different coach coming in, you had that background with Chauncey already. How does that kind of start that you already have that ground level already laid?
I mean, I think it's a really positive thing that we knew each other before, because the conversation isn't a get to know you conversation and then talk basketball. It's like I already knew him. We already had each other's phone number and spoke, pretty often. So when he came, it was just like, let's try to figure it out, as opposed to like, let's learn each other. That was less of a process. So Neil always compared me to him. Like when I first came in the league, Neil would be like, you remind me of Chauncey. Like Chauncey was like this, Chauncey did this, Chauncey did that. And he always would tell me I remind him of himself as a player, just by demeanor and how I go about stuff. So it's definitely a fit, and spending time around him now, like, is definitely a fit. And, I can see where his experience as a player and, at a championship level can really help our team. Just from the way he teaches and the detail that he speaks with is from a winning player's perspective, and I think everybody has to automatically respect that, and you can see the command that he has over the team when he speaks, or when somebody's working out and they're not going hard enough and he like, whoa, stop. Like, if you're going to do this, this is what it needs to look like. You can just tell that it's going to, he's going to be a good fit for this team.
Okay, two more. Orrin Manor.
There's been a lot of media buzz regarding your happiness with the team, with the organization. Not us, we're the good guys. You talked about that, but how can you utilize that buzz, that people talking, and turn it into positive reinforcement both on the court and off the court?
You said utilize the buzz. I mean, I don't need to. I mean, a lot of times, it was buzz because of things that people were reporting that just never came from me, So anytime you have somebody that is a high-level player in this league and they mention something along the lines of, I want to see this get better, I don't know what I'm going to do, then it's all of a sudden people start to make up your mind for you and tell you, well, this is what he meant, and he said this and he said that, but like, I don't think it's my job to control the buzz, positive, negative, or whatever. Like, I know where my heart is. I know how I operate as a person. And my teammates know as well. Everybody that I'm around on a daily basis, they know how I move. They know how I feel, because I don't go away from that. So I don't really need to. My actions, when I show up in the gym, and I just do what I always do, that's all I need to do and perform. And I always do that too. So I don't really think it's nothing else for me to say as far as like controlling what people say and how to make it positive and all those things. Like, when you are who you say you are and you show people that constantly, like, I don't gotta try to flip nothing or make people say this instead of saying that. I just let them say what they're gonna say, and I continue to be who I am.
Final question, Aaron Fentress.
Damian, the word accountability has been thrown around a lot. You are the franchise player, a superstar player. How can Chauncey Billups hold you accountable? What does that word mean to you coming from him? How can he make you better?
I mean, I think it speaks for itself. Accountability is when he has something to say, or if I'm out of line on something, or if I'm not doing something that I'm supposed to be doing, him being able to challenge me on that or call me out on that. And I've never had an issue accepting that. When I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, or the NBA, I've never had an issue with accountability. If something ever crossed my desk, or I was ever challenged or called out on something, if I felt like I had something to say about it, then I'll say it. But if I feel like I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. If I feel like I wasn't good enough at something, I'll say I wasn't good enough. But I've never had an issue with accountability. So if that's something that's going to be a big part of our team, or a big part of what our staff is going to bring, then it's not alarming to me, because I welcome it. I always have. So I think that's a good thing for our team.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, Dame. I know y'all got a lot of questions for Dame. I'm guessing he'll be available in the coming days for more questions. Oh. Hey, who just snuck in the back there? I wasn't even going to ask you to do media, Norm, but since you're here, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Nah, all right.
I know you'd take me up on that.
I'll be up out of here in an instant.
We recording? Okay, cool. All right,
nothing against y'all.
Questions for Norman Powell. Who are you pointing to? Oh, I'm sorry. Nick Krupke.
I was sneaking in behind too. Norman, just getting the deal here long term. Why?
One more time.
Why come back here? Why be here?
Why come back here? For me, you have to go where you're most wanted, where you're most loved. Neil and Chauncey, I talked to them a couple times throughout the summer. Neil was very forward about how they felt about me, their plans for me, and the future of the team. Dame and CJ both reached out to me before free agency started, just where my head's at, everything like that. Dame texted me, told me that he wanted me back here. I told him to get a message from a player like him, the franchise player, means everything to me. I'm about loyalty. I'm about working and being committed to the grind, and that's what this team's about. And I want to help them get over that hump. We didn't get a chance to do that last year when they acquired me through the trade. For many different reasons, but I'm excited to actually sit down and go through a full season, go through training camp, really get to know the guys. Not in that brief, couple months trying to figure out how I fit in and catch up to what they're doing and get acclimated, but actually start from scratch and get going. We got a group of guys who are hungry, willing to put the work in, willing to make adjustments and things like that with the new coaching staff. So I'm excited for what this franchise is building already, and I'm excited for this season.
One of the things Chauncey and Dame have already talked about is just the direct accountability that Chauncey's planning on bringing as a head coach in his first year as a head coach. How do you respond to that as a player, and how does that, encourage getting the most out of this team with a roster that's very similar to the one that ended the playoffs really early against Denver?
I think it's better that way. It takes out the excuses. Oh, well, this happened, that happened. No, we can sit down and see who made the mistakes, where it happened, and how we can fix them. And we can hold ourselves individually to a higher standard, offensively and defensively, giving ourselves up for the team, for the cause. We want to win a championship, and we're serious about that. We're gonna have to take more accountability for ourselves and what we need to do to reach that goal. For me, talking to Chauncey, especially Neil, it's a defensive end. Holding yourself to the standard of doing what needs to be done, the physicality, the little things, rotations, things like that, talking, finishing plays, not resting on that side of the ball, just going to get us over that hump. Offensively, we're great. You can't really speak on different things that need to be fixed. One of the best offensive in the league last year. I think it was 4. And Neil talked about that a lot in free agency. I think we're the number 4 in net rating offensively. And then we got Damian CJ, one of the best duo backcourts in the league. So we got a lot of versatility on that end. I think it's the defensive end that needs to be picked up. And if we're able to do that throughout the course of the season and heading into the playoffs, we'll find ourselves in a great position.
Orlando Sanchez.
Norm, you mentioned that a little bit in a championship, and most of the guys on this team want what you've experienced. And when you think back to that team and winning it all, what are some of the characteristics that you see in this current team that makes you believe that the Trailblazers can't compete?
I think we have the versatility that team had. I was asked that last year in the playoffs. But I think we have a lot of versatile guys, especially the new additions that we have. I think we filled a lot of voids on the defensive end, being able to switch and change defenses throughout the course of the game. And just in that run in Toronto when we won that championship, different guys stepped up. It wasn't always Kawhi, it wasn't always Kyle, Mark, or Serge, or Pascal. I stepped up, Fred stepped up. Guys who really didn't get to play as much, got plugged in, filled their role. Wasn't probably always scoring or whatever, but defensively, everybody had a chance throughout the course of the playoffs to make plays, and we're able to do that. And then your superstars were able to be superstars and do what they do. But I think we have guys like that now, in addition of Cody Zero, Larry Nance, Ben and Tony, among the other guys. Those guys are very versatile, how we can play defensively, given different looks. We got 3-and-D guys who can shoot the ball, a lot of movement in our offense that will even take our offensive game to a higher level, and our defense, the versatility that we have in that with the guys that I mentioned, is going to be really for us.
Casey Holdahl.
Norm, we talked a little bit before about kind of into a new situation where everyone's kind of established and only having a little bit of time and trying to kind of figure out where you fit in that situation. How does that change now that you are a long-term guy who's ripped with the team, and maybe what does that look like for someone in your position, a guy who's a vet, who's had success in the NBA? Kind of how does that manifest itself?
I'm here now. It's not, I'm traded and I'm trying to just figure it out. I don't want to overstep. I don't want to do too much and mess up what they got going on. I'm just trying to fit in. I feel like I'm here now. I'm really part of the team. You know, and like I said, to be able to sit down and talk to Dame, CJ, Chauncey, and the other guys throughout the course of the season, really put my input on how we can get better. You know, day in and day out in the practices, really establishing who I am as a player, as a competitor in training camp. You know, I'm that hard-nosed toughness that I think I would display during the playoffs in my defensive grit and physicality, just doing that throughout the course of the season and helping guys where I can. I've been in this league a long time. I've seen everything, every position, every role, from the guy that has the potential to be one of the key guys in the franchise, starting off early with some success in my first 2 years, to the guy that's at the end of the bench still working to try to get in there, and to the guy that's starting back and forth, 6-man, all that. So just helping the young guys too come up and find their role and how they can stick and be professional. I think if you follow me on Instagram through the summer, you've seen CJ Ellaby with me throughout the course of the summer. So really helping him, taking him under my wing, giving him some game and how to navigate the lives of an NBA player, being a professional, amongst some of the other rookies that I've been able to sit and talk to a little bit. So using that vet experience to help those guys, and then just establishing an identity of the team, of what we're going to be day in and day out. Watching the league and coming into the team, I think that was the one thing that was always in question. You don't know what Portland team you're going to get. You're going to get the Portland team that's going to be on both sides of the ball. Is it going to be an offensive night? Things like that. So I'm just establishing that two-way identity for this team.
Jason Quick.
Hey, Norm. When you were contemplating your free agency decision, how much did, kind of the uncertainty of Dame play into it? And did you reach out to him and say, hey, what's going on?
I didn't reach out to him for that. I've been around this league enough to know, it's a business. I'm not a player who gets caught up in the rumors and what's being said and what's being put out there throughout the media. Half the reason why I don't like to talk to the media. But no, just kidding. But I wasn't worried about it. I was going to let him make the decision that he makes. He's been here long enough. He's been a franchise guy. He can make whatever decision he wants for what's best for him and his family, and we move off of that. I know what type of guy he is, being around him on the team and just around the league. I don't know if he remembers, but I sat down with him, DeMar, after the game we played them my second year, and got his first time meeting him and, just getting a sense of who he is as a person. So I wasn't really worried about what was being put out there. I know he was going to make the decision for himself. He reached out to me about my free agency. I wasn't worried. I felt like that he was going to stay. I didn't see a real reason why, but he wants to win. I think putting the pressure on the organization to make changes that make him feel comfortable enough that we're going to be able to compete for a championship is the biggest thing. And I think that's what he did. And I think we made some great moves. And it's going to take a little bit for us to get acclimated to one another, but I'm excited.
And then also in your conversations with Coach and Neil around free agency, did you ever bring up like, hey, can I get to playing more of my natural position? Was that a...
Yeah, I talked about it. I talked to them about how I felt being brought in. As much as people were saying like, oh, he's fitting in so seamlessly and it's easy and he's averaging whatever he's averaging and it seems to go smoothly. Sometimes I felt a little in the corner a little bit, playing off of Damian CJ, but as to be expected, those guys, this is their team, and trying to fit in and play off of them, being a new guy coming in, finding my way to make an impact. So we talked about it, and they broke down the numbers and different things they can do to, get me more involved and feel more utilized and my usage rate up at the two-guard spot. I think that's what's so great about me, Dame, and CJ. You can play us at any of those spots. Any of us can bring the ball up, initiate the offense, and give the defense different looks. Dame and CJ are such prolific three-point shooters. When I have the ball in my hand, that opens up so much driving, to allow the defense to collapse in. And if they don't, I got easy plays, a two-man game between me, Nurk, me, Cody, me, Larry, so having those guys, on the wings are spaced out a little bit. I can put pressure on the defense, getting to the rim because they're not able to help so much. So it's just different little things like that that we went over and how we can, take our team to the next level with me being incorporated a little more.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, Norm.
Cool.
Norm and I spend a lot of time talking about how much we love the media. We spend a lot of time talking about how much we love the media. Yep, probably so. All right, looks like we have another little lull. Of the players that are left, does anybody have any particular desire to speak to anyone in particular? You gonna show us those new tattoos? Okay. Casey's coming. Mager's got his lunch. We're all ready to roll. All right. Aaron Fentress, first question. There's food. Yeah, we feed you guys.
So, Anfernee, I talked to Billups about you a little bit, and we talked about the fact that you shot predominantly threes last year, and he thinks that with more ball movement and different change in focus of the offense, that you will have more opportunity to penetrate and get other shots up. Are you looking forward to doing more than just basically being a sharpshooter?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, like you said, I shot a lot of threes last year, and I think this year is a perfect opportunity to kind of show fully my ability, in different aspects of my game. So I think we had a lot of talks with Chauncey, and he's very emphasizing that, like, you're gonna need to be able to get to the rim. Obviously, you shoot the ball well already, so but he's emphasizing getting to the rim and playmaking more. But that said, that will come naturally with the play style we will have. So I'm excited about that.
AJ, you must have a question since you asked for it.
Chauncey also talked about just his communication style this summer, and obviously you haven't gotten into camp yet, so I imagine you'll learn more about it as the camp goes on. But how would you describe his communication style as he tries to place more of an emphasis on the defensive side of the ball this year?
Yeah, he's very, very direct with us. We're going to be more aggressive on that end. Have just like I said, more aggressive play style on that end, and be able to have people to play to their strengths, make plays, take risks if they need to. So I think I'm pretty excited about that, to be able to learn from him, because he's been through everything before. So communicating with him is always much easier, because he understands from a player's perspective what it means to be in different situations. So I'm pretty excited about continuing to grow with him and learn from him.
Other questions for Ant? Orrin Manor? Didn't have to sit so far away, Orrin.
Can you tell us more about what you did this summer as far as personal attempt to improve your game?
Yeah, this summer I've mostly been working on continuing to stay consistent with my jump shot, making sure that I, stay consistent with that. But most importantly, just finishing, and then working on playmaking. That's probably my two emphasis this summer, was to improve in those areas, whether it's working out, putting myself in those situations of playmaking, having 5 different guys on the court, like managers or something, helping me out, see different coverages and see different actions. So those are 2 things I've been working on mostly.
In relation to that, you look like you've put on some weight as well.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, could you speak about that and just maybe the importance of that for a player like yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Just continue to stay in the weight room as much as possible. Kind of fall in love with it, especially after my rookie year. I was in the weight room a lot, so I had to actually fall in love with it. So I enjoy it now, being able to work out. And I guess it just comes with getting older. You start to, gain a few pounds and have it stay there. So, I'm pretty glad, that I've, grown up a little bit and got a little bigger. Since last season, I think we checked last time, I was 195, 196. So I like to play at 190. That's probably I felt most comfortable last year playing at. So I'm happy at 190. I think that's a good weight for me.
Ant, I can relate to putting on weight and having it stay there. Aaron Fentress.
CJ dealt with a summer where his name was floated out there in a lot of different trade speculation, but a lot of those trades would also include Ann Simons. Did you pay attention to any of those trade rumors at all and think about, could I be moving?
Family members from back home would tell me stuff about that, but I don't really pay attention to it, because I can control what I can control at the end of the day. So all I can control is going out there, working hard every day, and playing my game.
Austin White.
Hey there. I just wanted to ask, they brought in, some good talent, from signings and these training camp invites. What's kind of the mindset with, potential competition with some of these guys for yourself?
Most importantly, just get each other better. I think going to training camp, a lot of guys are fighting for roster spots, and I just wanted to prove myself, once again to the coaching staff that I can do multiple things. So that's probably pretty much my main goal, is to prove to the coaching staff that, I'm worthy of, getting playing time.
Okay, I think that's it,
Good.
Yep.
Great to see everybody finally.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Got Nasir Little at the podium. Okay, questions for Nas. AJ Cord.
Nas, just how would you, sorry, got louder. How would you describe your off season? What did you work on? And then coming back to Portland, what impressed you about Chauncey Billups and the new staff?
I've just been working on a little bit of everything, just making sure my shot stays consistent, making it as consistent as possible so I can hit it at a higher rate during the games, working on ball handling, being able to see past second layers of defense, making that extra pass, so we can move the ball this year. Just a little bit of everything, man, as I try to round my game off. So far with Chauncey, things have been great. What's impressed me the most probably just the form of communication between the players and the coaches. Their attention to detail on the defensive end and what we're doing has been great so far. So I think we can do a lot of big things this year.
Nas, what excites you personally about this year? The offseason that you had coming into this year, like what's your mentality like right now?
Just to compete. Like I said, I've been working hard. Super excited to showcase, what I've been working on and, have a genuine opportunity to be able to contribute in a larger part this year. I kind of know what I'm doing now, so just decided to get this process going.
Another question? Oh, 1 minute.
Under the former coach, you played both the 2 guard position and the 3. Do you have a preference yourself, or has there been talk to the new coaching staff regarding what position is the best for you overall with the current team?
It's kind of, regards to positions, it's more of a circumstance thing, depending on the lineups. If we go small, I can even play the 4 at times and create mismatches and advantages in that way. Primarily, the 3 is, what I play. I think that's where I'm the most effective. 2 and a 3 is really the same thing. You both run on the wing, so it's pretty similar in itself. So either one is cool with me as long as I'm on the court. I'll try my best to make plays.
Other questions for Nas? All right.
She
Thanks,
got
Nasir.
one. I think she got one. You got another one?
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't see it. Sorry, AJ. Sorry, AJ.
I thought you were cutting me off. It's fine. You talk about the communication that Chauncey has had, and he talked about direct accountability.
Yeah.
How have you felt that be received by a roster that's very similar to the one that played last year?
Can you repeat that a little bit?
He talked about how his communication style, and
Yeah.
you said it's very direct and it's direct accountability. How has that been received from the players' perspective?
Yeah, it's been received really well. When you have that open line of communication, it's easier to hold guys accountable. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a respect factor there. It's all out of trying to make the team better, so nobody takes anything personal. And I think it's all been received in a positive way. We all trying to learn, we all trying to get better, and that's what you need in order to be a top level team.
Oh, Casey, hold up.
Nas, there's obviously a kind of a big storyline just about players and vaccinations right now. And as someone who had COVID, and from what we understand, a pretty serious case of it, kind of what are your thoughts on that hesitancy among your fellow players?
Like thoughts on the vaccine?
Yeah, and just maybe the concern about getting it, and because it seems like now, like we're really to a point where it's like if you don't, there will be repercussions.
Yeah, for me, it's this is my profession, so I was willing to do whatever allowed me to continue to do my profession. That's the way I look at it. But I do believe that people have their reasons for not getting it. And it depends on the person. I feel like if you feel strongly about something, you should stand on what you say. At the end of the day, it's their choice. But personally, for me and my family and my situation, it just made sense to get it for the safety of my family and those around me and myself. So that was my personal decision, but I do respect people and their beliefs on whether they get it or not.
Any other questions for Nas?
That's it. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks, Nas. Okay, we got Robert Covington last. He'll be up here momentarily. All right, we got Robert Covington coming up. What are we doing?
You know how
Questions for Robert?
I'm the last one? Oh, damn. That's cool with me.
All right, Oren Manor.
Last season with the team, you had the lowest offensive production since your rookie year, and yet in good percentage. Is it something that goes through your mind, and did you talk to the new coaching staff about more offensive opportunities for you?
No, it's not what I'm worried about. My focus is defense. We got two superstars. You know, we got Nurk, we got Norm. Guys that demand a lot of attention with the ball. That's not been my mantra since I've been in the league. You know, my usage is based off of what's allowed on the court. But with me, the little things that I do is, you know, get offensive rebounds or create opportunities on the defensive end to create opportunities. Those are things that matter to me the most. I'm not worried about shots. I'm not worried about, you know, possessions or how long I touch the ball or if I don't. That's not the things that make me who I am. You know, it's about doing the little things. And, you know, I'm always been the guy that is focused on that. So for me, the amount of shots I get or my offensive production doesn't bother me because at the end of the day, that doesn't impact me on the other side. That's where I'm most impactful. At the end of the day, that's what I'm here for. You know, I'm here as a defender. I'm here as a guy that when the ball is swung to me, knock down open shots. You know, at times there's going to be possessions where it doesn't happen for a while. I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, that's not going to deter me from doing what I got to do on the other end because that's what's the most meaningful to me.
You talk about how you thrive as a defender, and that's what you love to do. With this new coaching staff, they've talked a lot about how it can't just be you, it has to be everybody who's invested on that defensive end. How does that make you feel as the one who's been carrying a big part of that defensive load?
You know, it's a good thing for us as a unit, you know, hold each other more accountable. We did that, tried to do that a lot last year, but it's just with, you know, the way things were for us, that wasn't their job. But now, as an emphasis, in order for us to be great, you know, we all have to be on one accord, and that's what, you know, Chauncey and them have really, you know, put an emphasis. They're not letting anything slip, and that's what I really like. You know, the fact of us growing as a unit, because, like I said, we're going to be as good as we want to be, but we got to put in the work. We got to put in the time. And, you know, I think that the route that we're going and the amount of things that we've done and the way they've changed certain things has made people the sense of urgency a lot more. And, you know, that's what we like. You know, everyone has embraced it. Everyone's taking that acknowledgement and in tune with us, you know, being better. And like I said, really wanting to compete for a championship, that's what it's going to take. And, you know, we got a guy that has won a championship, so he knows what it takes. And he knows, you know, the ins and outs of the little things and being very detail oriented. So, you know, he's done a lot for us. And, you know, we've all embraced it and we've all ready for the change that's about to come.
Orlando Sanchez.
Robert, you segued into my question there, but your early first impressions on Coach Billups, what he brings to the table, what you've liked about him so far, with him and the coaching staff.
Man, I love their attention to details on things. You know, whenever we don't do something or it was drawn up, it ain't no we just gonna keep pushing through. No, it stops right then and there and we correct it because, like I said, them little moments, you know, can be crucial moments in the game. And, you know, he understands that, you know, being a former player, he understands the ins and outs of the little details. And, you know, like I said, they put major emphasis on that is doing the little things because the little things add up. And, you know, the culture of what he's brought as far as, like, you know, coming from Detroit, a winning culture, and being on that 2004 championship team, them guys have done a lot. You know, he's seen a lot. He's been around the league for a long time. He's seen the basketball side. He's seen the business side. So for us, you know, having that as a player, you know, as our leader right now, you know, that's a big thing for us. And as we go as we go, the amount of things that he's changed, it makes things simpler, but it's simple, but it's efficient. And that's what he's made emphasis on. We're going to make things simpler, but we're going to be more efficient. You know, the little things are going to add up, and that's what I really liked about what we've done. Y'all can't make that easy.
All right, thanks, Rob.
See y'all later.
Recording